Hi, Beans. Alrighty then. I'm sure people are rolling in. And there they are. Hello, nerds. How are ya? Segregation is back. Hello, everybody. Where's Cherlenti? I'll throw you off a mountain. Have you liked and subscribed yet? Yes or nah? I hate everything. Okay. Don't you yell at me right now. All right, we're good to go. Hi, everybody. Hi, how are you? Welcome to the Valenti Videos broadcast. I'm your perfect and humble leader, Chris Valenti, and segregation is back, boys. No, it's terrible. But yeah, segregation is back. And don't take my word for it. Take this guy's word for it.
No blacks, no Jews, no gays.
You heard that. We're gonna watch that clip, but what an intro. Hi, Beans. There's Beans right there. Hey, buddy. Hi, handsome boy. It's crazy. Yeah. Turns out Richard Nixon is back. Same thing with Bin Laden. They're both been resurrected. But yeah, in Arkansas, there's a whites-only community. NBC did a little bit of coverage over this, but check this out.
No blacks, no Jews, no gays. High up in the Ozark Hills, in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard, building houses and a new type of community. It's called Return to the Land, and it is a town open to white people only.
Thank you for becoming a loyalist. Also, let me say one thing. Calling your town Return to the Land is a crazy, stupid, cringy fucking name. Who do you think you are? Aragorn? What do you think this is? Gondor? Gondor would have been a better fucking name. Unironically, the White City. Let's be for real. If you're going to do this, go hard. But honestly, I don't think this is legal. I think this is going to get, like, shut down, raided by, like, the FBI. There's going to be some, like, fucking massive shootout. And be like, there's private land! Like, does anybody else agree? Like, I don't think this is going to end well.
They are millennials and Gen Z, and this is a new update of age-old prejudice.
Oh, they're using gamer tongue. This is a new update? Brothers using gamer speak. Ooh.
What we've done here is
Hi, Jack.
establish a place where we have control over who our neighbors are. And
okay, Dietrich. Okay, Hans. Okay, Klaus.
that is just for the sake of preserving, our culture.
You mean white culture?
And that culture, effectively, we're saying this is a white culture, a whites-only place.
White American culture.
But what this sounds like is bringing back segregation. Is that a fair assessment?
It's free association. So we're not trying to keep other people down. This is a small settlement in the middle of the Ozarks. But
A small settlement? Brother, that's so much fucking land. Brother, this is a massive swath of land. What are we fucking talking about? It's not like your house. You know what I'm saying? And second of all, if your argument is we're not trying to keep black people down, we're trying to keep, or not just blacks, it's blacks, Jews, gays, if your argument isn't we're not trying to keep other people down, we're trying to boost us up, but your practice is excluding others, that means you're keeping them down. Now, here's the thing. It's not like people want to go there. It's not like anybody wants to fucking move to the middle of the fucking Ozarks and live among these people. But you can't allow something like this to happen because it's like step one. If they're allowed to do it, some other piece of shit is going to try to do it. You know what I'm saying?
They are being kept out, even if...
of Well, I mean, you don't let everyone into your home.
Around 40 people live here. Hundreds more from across the world have paid to be members. And while the men do the physical labour, the women take care of the children who live here full time.
Oh,
It could be a very loving community.
Christ, dude, those children. That's what I'm saying, bro. This has got to be, you're watching from Red Robin, nice. This has got to be considered a form of abuse, you know? This has to be considered a fucking form of abuse.
Community.
Also, how's my mic quality? There was a microphone update.
You're part of the community, but if you're black, or if you're Jewish, or if you're gay, you can't be part of that community.
They can have their own communities, and they already do.
You might be wondering how any of this can
And they already do. Bitch, what are you talking about, San Francisco? I know we joke about all the gays, but it's not actually a gay city for gays only, and straights aren't allowed. What the fuck are you talking about? Where? What?
be legal. Return to the Land is structured as a private members association, which they believe allows them to discriminate on the basis of ethnicity, along with other factors. That has yet to be tested in the courts.
It doesn't look that bad. I don't understand. That's because you're racist. If you can't understand that a segregated community where blacks, Jews, and gays are not allowed, I can't help you. And I don't mean to be rude here, but it doesn't surprise me that that comment comes from somebody with a fucking Hebrew username. $30 says you're not racist. $30 says you're Israeli, right? Which means you're probably genuinely used to an apartheid. I think you're dead ass used to segregation. So you're like, what's the fucking problem, bro? And I'm not saying that, you know, listen, you're chatter, listen, at the end of it, listen, what I'm saying to you is, I think you might think that type of behavior is acceptable because it is in Israel. It is not. Chris, they do. Luigi, fuck, that was Beans. Chris, they do have them. Look at the blacks only community in Georgia. Let me see. What is it called? Black only community in Georgia. Freedom, Georgia. Oh, wait, I'm not sharing the screen. Freedom, Georgia is a planned community in Wilkinson County, Georgia, established by 19 black families as a safe haven for people of color. The initiative, known as the Freedom Georgia Initiative, aims to create a sustainable, thriving community focused on, so what, are white people not allowed there? Well, let's finish this video before we dive into that.
May well fail. The Arkansas Attorney General has said his office is now reviewing the matter as a result of our reporting, and that there is no room for racial discrimination in Arkansas or anywhere in a free society. No blacks.
Let's see. Ooh.
We are the buying power. If we can just teach each other to circulate our dollars within the community, we will solve our own problems. We are literally the answer to our own problems, but we have to change our thinking and come together.
Develop a safe space for black people. Does that mean black only community?
My name is Renee Walters, and I am the president
Thank you,
of the
Azaria.
Freedom Georgia Initiative. I have a black husband. I have a black son. Every time he would leave out for work or just to go to the store or anything, I would have a sense of anxiety just from watching everything that we've been going through lately with the pandemic and watching our black men being murdered on national television in front of everybody. It kind of just all shook us by storm. It's now time for us to get our friends and family together and build for ourselves. That's the only way we'll be safe. That's the only way that this will work. We have to start bringing each other together.
The V in Valenti stands for vape. I'm gonna throw you off a mountain. Is that me?
Well, we are looking to get amenities on the
At Endgame HD, I think you have the complete wrong idea here. You're saying that because this exists, a white community can exist for the same exact reason. No. Radical take here. We haven't finished this video, but no racially exclusive community should exist at all. That is the antithesis of American values. The entire point of America is everybody being able to participate and being an equal citizen with the same amount of fucking rights. That's the whole goddamn point. Call me a radical.
And we want to have a place where
Oh, you got to switch too. Congratulations.
you can have weddings, a nice retreat. We'll have tiny homes. We really just want you to come and hang out and feel safe. You don't have to worry about the Karens of the world and anything like that. You just come and have fun. We'll have a
Don't have to worry
area
about the Karens. Is she talking about white people?
with fishing, hunting, shooting range, ATV trails. We really just want to build a tight-knit community for our people to just come and breathe together. I know they have a bad stigma that, oh, Black people can't come together, but just like how Black Wall Street, their dollars circulated around 11 times before it left the community. And that's just something we want to bring back. We want to encourage businesses to come, and we want to circulate our dollar within the community before it leaves out to someone else. We want to make everybody in our areas wealthy.
Yeah, no, listen, like, regardless of what race it is, I don't support any sort of exclusive segregated communities. Doesn't make this one any fucking worse, dude. Israel is segregated? Yes, dude. Israel is an apartheid state. You guys have different areas where, like, you know, Arabs can't go. You have, like, completely different laws regarding Muslims. It's a fucking apartheid state. You got whole checkpoints set up just for Muslims. It's an apartheid regime. That's not what I said. I was replying to Vote Space. You made the argument for the Black community, but said the whites can't have one. Oh, my bad. Oh. Any news about Abdul? Oh, is that the guy who's running? What about him? Oh, he's running for Senate. Yeah, okay. No, I haven't looked too much into him at all. My apologies. My apologies. My apologies. The burn guy from yesterday, yeah, we could talk about that too. Luigi, shush. So the Attorney General of Arkansas says his office is looking into the white supremacist group that has effectively created a whites-only community in his state and is seeking to expand its footprint to Missouri. Republican Attorney General Tim Griffin has pursued bigoted initiatives in his own right, as evidenced by his participation in the right-wing crusade against diversity and school lesson plans that discuss racial injustice. But a whites-only anti-Jewish community formed in Arkansas by a white supremacist group that calls itself Return to the Land is apparently a step too far in the AG's eyes. Jesus Christ. 150 fucking acres. That guy called it a small settlement, and it's 150 acres. Says, I don't want to live with the Palestinians, though. Then don't call yourself a good person. Stop pretending like you're a good person if you just think that you are superior to Palestinians simply because they were born in Palestine. Jesus Christ, you fucking piece of shit. My God. And dude, this is the thing, is like, this isn't even like an insane Israeli. This is an average Israeli, bro. There are way fucking worse. This guy's a regular, you know, don't ban him, but like, because maybe there's a chance of fixing him. But like, that is an insane thing to just willingly admit. And it is proof of the fucking brainwashing that the young Israelis go through. That you are like taught to believe that that is even socially acceptable to say out loud. Why doesn't it even look like that? It's in Hebrew. Waluigi! How is it bad? Because it's their land. You are the invader. Do you not understand? The Jewish people weren't in the Middle East before 1948, dog. You were scattered all across Europe. There was multiple different places that the Jewish people were looking into to create the nation of Israel. You just ended up settling on the fucking Middle East because of the Balfour Declaration and the Sykes-Picot Agreement. These are all it's just a whole bunch of old white British dudes lining up land with a fucking ruler, carving it out and calling them the Stan nations. You know? Afghanistan, Pakistan, fucking your mother Stan. Yeah, but now I'm here. So listen, let me ask you one simple question. Is your solution to what? You don't, because you don't want to live next to the Palestinians, is your solution to kill them all and or relocate them to somewhere else on planet Earth? $20 from Azariah. These communities got me wondering, if you could magically replace the American government, what do you think would be the ideal way to run our society while still keeping its American identity? Oh, Jesus. Probably some sort of I would keep a democracy, but probably some sort of like socially, publicly owned economy rather than capitalism. It's too fucked up. No, that's a mess. They can stay in the West Bank and Gaza. I want to stay here. Copy that, brother. So, okay, whatever, bro. Whatever. I'm not gonna fucking debate a goddamn Nazi.
This morning, Virginia Giuffre's family wants to know what President Trump knows about convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. In a new statement, the siblings of Giuffre saying, "It makes us ask if he was aware of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's criminal actions. We and the public are asking for answers. Survivors deserve this." In 2019, when Epstein was charged with trafficking, Trump said they had a falling out and had not spoken in 15 years. The Giuffre family now speaking out after Trump was asked by reporters this week if Giuffre was one of the employees he claimed Epstein stole from his Mar-a-Lago resort.
I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us.
By the way, this woman, Virginia Giuffre, she's fucking dead, bro. She's fucking dead. Luigi's losing her shit. How am I a Nazi? Because you're saying you don't want to live next to the Palestinians despite the fact that your nation controls their electricity, their water flow. You turn off their electricity all the time. You turn off the water flow. You are doing a forced starvation campaign on the people of Gaza. You've bombed the ever-loving fuck out of them. You've killed hundreds of thousands of civilians. You've killed tens of thousands of children. And you are probably in full support of all of it. That's why. That's fucking why, dog.
None whatsoever.
Giuffre's family saying it was Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, who targeted
Dude,
and preyed.
that's fucking Prince Andrew, I believe. Luigi, enough!
Upon our then 16-year-old sister, Virginia, from Mar-a-Lago.
I was recruited at a very young age from Mar-a-Lago and entrapped in a world that I didn't understand, and I've been fighting that very world to this day.
Giuffre, who...
Is that okay, but that's not Nazism? Yeah, it's the closest thing to it in modern history. The closest nation on planet Earth that resembles Nazi Germany is Israel. You are actively committing a fucking genocide. You are an apartheid state. You practice segregation. Jesus Christ, dog. You call yourself a democracy. You've had the same leader for nearly 30 years.
Died by suicide in April, accused Maxwell of recruiting her while she was working as a locker room attendant in 2000, claiming she was groomed to be a teen sex slave for Epstein. Maxwell denied participating in sexual activities with Giuffre and Epstein and denied instructing Giuffre to have sex with others. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche met with Maxwell last week, part of the Justice Department's effort to uncover information about anyone who has committed crimes against victims. Maxwell currently serving 20 years in prison and appealing her conviction to the Supreme Court.
Oh shit, this guy's in the IDF. I'm also stationed near Gaza. Dude, oh my God. All right, so wait, have you killed kids, bro? Or are you one of those kid killers? You kill kids, dog? You kill kids, bro? Is that like something you do? No, I haven't. What about your boys? Your boys kill kids? This is a crazy thing to admit, dog. Didn't shoot my gun since basic. What about your boys? Your boys kill kids?
Court offered to testify before Congress for immunity. Giuffre's family.
My CO fought in October 7th. I thought October 7th was a surprise attack. What are you, Hamas?
Hopes that doesn't happen, saying Ghislaine Maxwell is a monster who deserves to rot in prison for the rest of her life. Trump has not ruled out pardoning Maxwell, but has said no one's approached him about it. The Justice Department says only 2 law enforcement witnesses testified during the grand juries in New York that investigated Epstein and Maxwell. Supporters of releasing all the Epstein files say this proves more than just the grand jury transcripts need to be released to show transparency.
Yo, what do you think about all the starving kids? What do you think about all the starving kids, Mr. IOF? What do you think about that? Curious.
Cracks appear to be emerging among the right in what has historically been unwavering support for Israel. On Monday, MAGA stronghold Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene ramping up her criticism, becoming the first congressional Republican to call Israel's actions in Gaza a, quote, genocide. And she's not alone. Earlier this month, conservative influencers like Theo Vaughn and Joe Rogan criticizing Israel's war against Hamas.
I did, Lean. I made a whole video about that. You should check it out.
This hunger crisis. Here's Theo Vaughn speaking to TMZ.
Why we're being supportive of the genocide in Gaza, like why are we helping with that? Like I think it's making a lot of people feel really scared. And then why wouldn't we come to the rescue of the people over there?
And now Steve Bannon tells Politico that, quote, Netanyahu's attempt to save himself politically.
I think I'm gain a little bit too high. Will I turn it lower? How about that? Oh wait, no, that's the other way. How about that? Is that better? Is that a little bit better, gang? A little bit better there? A little bit better?
By dragging America deeper into another Middle East war has turned off a large swath of older MAGA diehards. Joining us now, staff writer for The Atlantic, Yair Rosenberg, Semaphore White House correspondent Shelby Talcott, and Peter Baker is still with us. Peter, we'll start with you.
I'll tell you
Given
one thing
Trump's
that's good. Support for Israel in the United States has plummeted, especially like the reputation of Benjamin Netanyahu himself. Americans, by and large, are no longer in support of Israel, and when it comes to the young people, they are wildly anti-Israel. Something like 75% of people under the age of 30 in the United States. But also, all the New York leadership has essentially agreed that, and this is all representative on if Zoran ends up becoming the fucking mayor of New York City, that if Benjamin Netanyahu ever steps foot in New York, he's going to get arrested. So we're seeing some good fronts, at least in New York's stance.
Break with Netanyahu this week. Are you seeing this as a sign that the White House may be adjusting its approach or its tactic here, or are we just seeing Trump reacting to optics?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Look, Trump had a very strong relationship with Netanyahu in his first term, particularly the first 3 years. But by the end of his first term, he had begun to sour on Netanyahu for a variety of reasons, particularly after the election of 2020 when Netanyahu congratulated Joe Biden. Trump was very angry about that and has never fully forgiven Netanyahu. So while he's been supportive in his second term, it's not the blank check that he gave in the first term. He has been much more willing to question Netanyahu's approach than he had been last time. That doesn't mean it's a full break. It's different, obviously, than it was, say, with Joe Biden, who grew very frustrated by Netanyahu by the end of his presidency. But you see Trump basically looking at what he sees. These pictures that you're showing, they're having an effect on him. He's looking at these pictures, and as he told reporters in Scotland, he feels like this is clearly a sign of great hunger in Gaza. These pictures can't be faked, as he said, and he's expressed frustration. Now, what does that mean? What will he do about it? Not really clear. He has a lot of options if he chooses to use them. So far, he hasn't. But sometimes with Trump, even just rhetorical change in tone has an impact on American allies.
The thing is, I fucking hate Donald Trump, but I do genuinely believe he's more human than Benjamin Netanyahu. I think that Trump probably has a small little itsy bitsy small piece of humanity left inside of him. Granted, he's also trying to distract from the Epstein files, but I don't think that you can look at this stuff and not feel, especially the kids, like the infants, I don't think you can look at this stuff and not feel pain if you are capable of empathy. And the thing is, we see the way that, Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, and we see the way that they tweet. When you translate those tweets into Hebrew, they're not hiding it. They don't consider these to be people. They consider them to be animals. So it's not really something you can come to terms with. You can't really meet them in the middle.
Who are looking to stay in his good graces.
Okay, so Shelby, the MAGA backlash is going, far beyond the podcast sphere or the online chatter. A new Gallup poll revealing 6 in 10 Americans disapprove of Israel's military actions in the Gaza Strip, though 71% of Republicans in the same poll voiced support for this. And
see that? If this says everything about the Republican Party. The Republican Party, it's not even that the Republican voters are in support of genocide, right? I mean, a lot of them are, but it's that a lot of them are this demented evangelical base that have blind support for Israel because they believe that if Greater Israel is established, the rapture will begin. It's almost like a mental illness now to be a conservative. It's fucking demented.
For Israel's war, but key Republicans are now expressing their concern as well. Here's Senator Tillis. I'm going to read a quote for you, I guess. The Hill, this is from the Hill. Sorry, let me take this. Okay, this Gaza situation could, quote, be a political problem for Trump. And now, sorry about that, guys. Now we are learning Steve Witkoff will make his way to Israel. This is the latest news that's coming out. He's going to make his way to Israel, have meetings there. What could those meetings, Shelby, look like?
Well, I think that there's going to be a lot of pressure, as there has been from the White House, for Israel to sort of try to wind this down. This has been a clear focus of this administration. The president talked about it a lot on the campaign trail, trying to end all of these wars. It's clearly a priority for him.
I want to blow this guy's mind real quick. So, Israeli chatter. Would you believe me if I told you that I have friends in New York, right, who are Jewish, who hate Zionism and think that Israel is a fucked up nation and that the idea of any religious ethno-state is bad, especially one that has nuclear weapons? Would that blow your fucking mind?
For a few reasons, right? He sees himself as sort of the peacemaker in chief. This is something that he has fashioned himself into, and he talks a lot about being able to go over to these other countries and sort of help out with some of these wars. And so it's really important, even just from a personal perspective, for Donald Trump to figure this out. At the same time, I think that there's recognition inside the administration that there's only so much.
I believe you. We have him here too. What do you think of that? What do you think of that idea?
The White House can do. And so you're seeing sort of that frustration boil over with the president's comments about Gaza most recently, with the president's comments about Putin, if you're looking at the other wars. And so I think that these meetings, you're going to see a lot of pressure from the White House for Israel to sort of take a step back and reevaluate how they're handling things.
To be a soldier, you must be desensitized. That's the cringiest shit I've ever read. You just confirmed to me that you're like 14. That was the cringiest shit I've read today, dog. To be a soldier, you must be desensitized. That's the cringiest shit I've ever read, bro. Israel is starving Gaza. Trump is the Epstein list. So Sigma, bro. So skibbity fucking Sigma. Super skibbity Rizzler skibbity Riz.
Now to a case with new details today, raising serious questions about the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. A DACA recipient we first told you about yesterday, 32, employed, and who is deaf and mute, was swept up in a federal immigration raid and put in custody for nearly a month.
I was so nervous. They tried to talk to me. They tried to see if I could talk. I couldn't talk. I pulled out my phone to try to communicate, but they took it away. I would ask them to take off my handcuffs so I could sign, and they would say no. I have DACA. I've already applied. I've already gone through those steps. I thought everything was fine.
Surveillance video here shows agents entering the California car wash where Javier Diaz Santana works, shouting commands that, of course, he couldn't hear or understand. Agents later attempted to deport him to Mexico, despite Santana being under DACA protection for more than a decade. Joining us now is a lawyer who helped to get him released, Roxana Muro, owner of the law offices of Roxana.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude, and it's just because they don't do any research or intel on who they're arresting. They just grab whoever's fucking brown. They grab the nearest brown person.
For millennia, the great philosophers have sought to answer life's most profound questions. And today, a new thinker has emerged to grapple with the mysteries of our universe.
What's freakier, being at the bottom of the ocean or being up in space? Everything has a consciousness, literally everything, even tables. Why do black people like menthol so much? What's that about?
He is the world's greatest thinker.
If you're drinking water, you're drinking dinosaur piss.
Wisdom's greatest champion.
If we found a frog on the moon, the world would stop, right?
On a quest to gaze upon the very face of God and say, but who was he before he reached this summit? And how did he get there? This is the Daily Showography of Joe Rogan. The path to Rogue Enlightenment.
Jesus Christ, bro. Dude, the problem is that literally, like, tens of millions of fucking Americans take everything that Joe Rogan says as fucking as biblical. Like, it's unbelievable. Can't watch that whole thing. These daily shows love to copyright strike people. They love to copyright strike people. This is the breaking news of the day. Oh, these fucking dumbass trade. These tariffs are about to hit. Presidential executive orders. I'm pretty sure there's a crazy new executive order. I think this is it. Preventing woke AI in the federal government. What the fuck? We're going to get both of these up. Okay. Which one should we start with? Should we start with ending crime? This is the one that makes being homeless illegal. And then this is the one that lets the AI become super mega Hitler. Which one should we start with? Mecha Hitler or homeless criminals? All right, let's start with Mecha Hitler. Preventing woke AI in the federal government. Let's see. Artificial intelligence play a crucial role in how Americans of all ages learn new skills, consume information, and navigate their daily lives. Americans will require reliable outputs from AI, but when ideological biases or social agendas are built into AI models, they can distort the quality and accuracy of the output. One of the most pervasive and destructive of these ideologies is so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's so funny when you just read the words. Like, he's saying one of the most pervasive and destructive ideologies is diversity, equity, and inclusion. I understand. Dude, that's so fucking funny. In the AI context, DEI includes the suppression or distortion of factual information about race and sex, manipulation of racial or sexual representation in model outputs, incorporation of concepts like critical race theory, transgenderism, unconscious bias, intersectionality, and systemic racism, and discrimination on the basis of race or sex. So wait. Are we just going to pretend that systemic racism doesn't fucking exist? Oh. DEI displaces the commitment to truth in favor of preferred outcomes and, as recent history illustrates, poses an existential threat to reliable AI. For example, one major AI model changed the race or sex of historical figures, including the Pope, the Founding Fathers, and Vikings, when prompted for images because it was trained to prioritize DEI requirements at the cost of accuracy. Another AI model refused to produce images celebrating the achievements of white people, even while complying with the same requests for people of other races. In yet another case, an AI model asserted that the user should not misgender another person, even if necessary, to stop a nuclear apocalypse. This is, guys, this isn't Twitter. This isn't Twitter. This is the fucking White House's official website. This is whitehouse.gov. This is the actual literal words of the literal fucking executive order, verbatim. This is the literal words of the fucking executive order. Oh my God, dude. There's an executive order proposed by the President of the United States that says, this is a real sentence. An AI model asserted that a user should not misgender another person, even if necessary, to stop a nuclear apocalypse. This is a real sentence. An official decree by the President of the United States of America. Oh. Brothers. While the federal government should be hesitant to regulate the functionality of AI models in the private marketplace, in the context of federal procurement, it has the obligation not to procure models that sacrifice truthfulness and accuracy to ideological agendas. Building on Executive Order 13960 of December 3rd, 2020, promoting the use of trustworthy artificial intelligence in the federal government, this order helps fulfill that obligation in the context of large language models. Excuse me. Your stitches are fixed on your balls? Nice, brother. I'm so proud of you, bro. It is the policy of the United States to promote the innovation and use of trustworthy AI. To advance that policy, agency heads shall, consistent with applicable law and consideration of guidance issued pursuant to Section 4 of this order, procure only those LLMs developed in accordance with the following two principles. A, truth-seeking, LLMs must be truthful in responding to user prompts seeking factual information or analysis. LLMs shall prioritize historical accuracy, scientific inquiry, and objectivity, and shall acknowledge uncertainty where reliable information is incomplete or contradictory. B. Ideological neutrality. LLMs shall be neutral, nonpartisan tools that do not manipulate responses in favor of ideological dogmas such as DEI. Developers shall not intentionally encode partisan or ideological judgments into an LLM's outputs unless those judgments are prompted or otherwise readily accessible to the end user. Now, here's my thing. I don't disagree with either of these at the end of the day, but my problem is that it's so focused around dogmas such as DEI that I believe these things are going to be like in favor of ideological dogmas such as Nazism. Like, if you're programming it to hate DEI, then it's going to end up a fucking white supremacist. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God. We have robot Nazis. We're about to have robot Nazis, bro. And Elon said there's going to be 1 billion of those fucking things. Oh, Wolfenstein was so ahead of its time. This is so fuck-wuckied. Section 4, Implementation. Within 120 days of the date of this order, the Director of the Office of Management and Budget, in consultation with the Administrator for Federal Procurement Policy, the Administrator of General Services, and the Director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy, shall issue guidance to agencies to implement Section 3 of this order. That guidance shall account for technical limitations in complying with this order, permit vendors to comply with their requirement to be transparent about ideological judgments through disclosure of the LLM system prompts, specifications, evaluations, other relevant documentation, and avoid requiring disclosure of specific model weights or other sensitive technical data where practicable. Okay. I do know Parker Get a Job. I don't know him, like, I've never talked to him, but I know who you're talking about. Avoid overprescription and afford latitude for vendors to comply with the unbiased AI principles and take different approaches to innovation. Specify factors for agency heads to consider in determining whether to apply the unbiased AI principles to LLMs developed by the agencies into AI models other than LLMs. Make exceptions as appropriate in national security systems. Each agency head shall, to the maximum extent consistent with applicable law. Yeah, okay, so they're just trying to, like, make Nazi robots. That's gonna be a fun video. All right, now let's go to making being homeless illegal. Ow, my hand. Okay. Endemic vagrancy, disorderly behavior, sudden confrontations, and violent attacks have made our cities unsafe. The number of individuals living in the streets in the United States on a single night during the last year of the previous administration, nearly 300K, was the highest ever recorded. The overwhelming majority of these individuals are addicted to drugs. This is not true. This isn't, like, that's just not true at all. Have mental health condition or both. Nearly 2/3 of homeless individuals report having regularly used hard drugs like methamphetamines, cocaine, or opioids in their lifetime. Equally large share of homeless individuals report suffering from mental health conditions. You know, there's also a fuckload of them are veterans, you dumb fuck. Federal government and states have spent tens of billions of dollars on failed programs that address homelessness, but not at its root cause, leaving other citizens vulnerable to public safety threats. Shifting homeless individuals into long-term institutional settings for humane treatment through the appropriate use of civil commitment will restore public order. Surrendering our cities and citizens to disorder and fear is neither compassionate to the homeless nor other citizens. My administration will take a new approach focused on protecting public safety. Oh my God, bro, they're literally going to round up the homeless people. They're literally going to round up the fucking homeless people. So civil commitment is involuntary commitment. Involuntary hospitalization or informally in Britain sectioning being... All right, hold on. Where are they going to put the homeless people? Work camps, dude. They're going to put them to work. There's a legal process where a person with a severe mental illness is admitted to a psychiatric hospital or treatment facility against their will. This typically happens when the individual is deemed a danger to themselves or others or is unable to care for their basic needs. This process usually involves a court hearing where a judge or other legal authority determines if the individual meets the criteria for commitment. It's to protect individuals experiencing a mental health crisis. So it's really for like people who are like tripping the fuck out. Okay, let's see. Anything juicy here? Okay. In appropriate cases, the reversal of federal or state judicial precedents and the termination of consent decrees that impede the United States' policy of encouraging civil commitment to individuals with mental illness who pose risks to themselves or the public. Oh, shit. Or that's an or. Guys, that's an or. Do you know what that means? Do you understand what that means? Encouraging civil commitment to individuals with mental illness or are living on the streets. Is he trying to just lock up anyone who has a diagnosed mental illness? Look at this, look at this, look at this. Encouraging civil commitment of individuals with mental illness who pose risks to themselves or the public, or are living on the streets and cannot care for themselves in appropriate facilities for appropriate periods of time. So this is a double whammy. This means, A, this just says if you're homeless, you're going to be involuntarily thrown into an institution. And then this says if you have a mental illness and this regime, the Trump regime, says that you pose a risk to yourself or the public, you're getting thrown... Wait a minute. Action T4 was a campaign of mass murder by involuntary euthanasia which targeted people with disabilities and the mentally ill in Nazi Germany. Brother. Killed in psychiatric hospitals. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck, bro. Okay. Technical guidance. Grants a legal ability for the identification, adoption, implementation of maximally flexible civil commitment, institutional treatment, and step-down treatment standards that allow for the appropriate commitment and treatment of individuals with mental illness who pose a danger to others or are living on the street, can't care for themselves. The Attorney General and Human Services, whatever, Secretary of fuck, shall take immediate steps to assess their discretionary grant programs and determine whether priority for those grants may be given in grantees in states and municipalities that actively meet the below criteria to the maximum extent permitted by law. Oh my God. Wait. Priority for the grants will be given to grantees in states, so they're going to reward states that do this. States that do the following will get priority in their federal grants. In other words, if you don't do this, you're not getting federal funding. Enforce prohibitions on open illicit drug use. Yo, they're literally trying to take away you being able to smoke a joint in the park. Verbatim trying to get rid of you being able to smoke. They've already been doing that in Washington, D.C., bro. In D.C., I don't know if it's like coming from the top from Trump, but like people are getting fucking arrested for smoking joints in the park, even though it's completely legal. Enforce prohibitions on urban camping and loitering. So that's just being homeless. And enforce prohibitions on urban squatting. Oh my God, we got squatters' rights for a reason, doing. Address individuals who are a danger to themselves or others, suffer mental illness, substance use disorder, or who are living on the streets, cannot care for themselves. Through assisted outpatient treatment or by moving them into treatment centers or other appropriate facilities via civil commitment or other available means to the maximum extent permitted by law, or substantially implement and comply with, to the extent required, the registration and notification obligations of the substantially implement and comply with, to the extent required, the registration and notification obligations of the Sex Offender Registry and Notification Act, particularly in the case of registered sex offenders with no fixed address, including by adequately mapping and checking the location of homeless sex offenders. I don't even understand what this means. Implement and comply with, to the extent required, the registration and notification obligations of the Sex Offender Registry and Notification Act. Oh, they just mean to track homeless sex offenders. Totally on board with that one. I'm not gonna lie. Completely on board with that one. That one I got no problem with. All right, Attorney General shall ensure that homeless individuals arrested for federal crimes are evaluated consistent with 18 to determine whether they're sexually dangerous persons. Oh shit! Wait a minute. So like people who are more likely to become homeless are LGBTQ because they get kicked out of their houses a lot, and being homosexual was considered a mental illness until like 1990, I believe. And they used to say that like all homosexuals are pedophiles. That's what they say about transgender people now. I'm concerned that this will be used to, when they arrest a gay or trans person for being homeless, they will then register them as a sexually dangerous person because of their sexuality. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what this is for. Take all necessary steps to ensure the availability of funds under the emergency law enforcement consistent encampment removal efforts in areas which public safety is a risk to the state and local resources. Detainees with serious mental illness are not released into the public because of a lack of forensic bed capacity. What? So if there's nowhere to put them, just squeeze them in? And I'm not saying release them, but like, what? Enhance requirements that prisons and residential reentry centers that are under the authority of the Attorney General or receive funding from the Attorney General require in-custody housing release plans and, to the maximum extent practical, require individuals to comply. Discretionary grants issued by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration for substance abuse disorder prevention, treatment, and recovery fund evidence-based programs and do not fund programs that fail to achieve adequate outcomes, including so-called harm reduction or safe consumption. Oh my God, this is Narcan. They're talking about Narcan. This is Narcan. They're talking about fucking Narcan and like safe needle zones, bro. Their solution is let them die. Narcan is harm reduction. When somebody's ODing on fucking opiates or fent or heroin, you can give them Narcan and it'll save their life, right? That's considered harm reduction, right? Right here. That's considered harm reduction. And then safe consumption are places where there's like incredibly high drug use, where some people, like there are centers where they have clean needles that you can get rather than using a dirty, fucked up needle that's going to give you AIDS. Jesus Christ. Oh, Lordy. These actions include, to the extent permitted by law, ending support for housing first policies that deprioritize accountability and fail to promote treatment? What? Wait, so they're going to get rid of funding for housing first policies while they're criminalizing homelessness? What? Fail to promote treatment, recovery, self-sufficiency. Pull yourselves up by your bootstrap. Pull yourselves up by your bootstrap. Increasing competition among grantees through broadening the applicant pool and holding grantees to higher standards of effectiveness in reducing homelessness and increasing public safety. That operate drug and safe consumption, knowingly distribute drug, permit the use of distribute illicit drugs, property under their control. Yeah, so this is the injection sites I was talking about, the safe needles. So they're going to freeze the federal funding to any state that does safe needle programs or gives out Narcan. Federally, all right, so they're going to take appropriate measures and revise regulations as necessary to allow, where permissible, federally funded programs to exclusively house women and children and to stop sex offenders who receive homelessness assistance through such programs from being housed with unrelated children. Oh shit, require those funding recipients to share such data. They're talking about to collect health-related, so for homeless people that go to these federally funded like homeless shelters, they're going to collect their private health information and then they're going to share that data with law enforcement. So that they can round up and find the people who have mental illnesses, throw them in the work camps. Wow. Those are two insane executive orders. Those are two crazy executive orders, if I do say so myself. What the fuck is this? No lip Levitt.
States to negotiate good deals for our country and its people like President Trump. This is what maximum leverage looks like. On the peace front, President Trump helped deliver an immediate and unconditional ceasefire between Thailand and Cambodia. The two countries were engaged in a deadly conflict that had displaced more than 300,000 people until President Trump stepped in to put an end to it. The president spoke directly on the phone with the acting Prime Minister of Thailand and the Prime Minister.
Hold on, I'm gonna mute it for a second. Hey, yo! Hey, I'm down here. Hi, how you doing? Welcome to the Valenti VOD. Caroline No Lip Levitt is doing a press briefing, trying to cover for the Führer's ass, considering Epstein. So I'm going to unmute the bitch, and then we're going to listen. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm Chris Valenti. Big shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon and everybody who sends me money. I love you all.
In Pakistan, Serbia and Kosovo, and Egypt and Ethiopia. This means President Trump has brokered, on average, about one peace deal or ceasefire per month during his 6 months in office. It's well past time that President Trump was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh
I know
my
the topic
God,
of Israel is on
blow
everyone's
me.
mind. I have an update from Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, who I got off the phone with this morning. Special Envoy Witkoff and Ambassador Huckabee had a very productive meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu
Yeah, I bet they
and other
fucking
officials
jerked each
today
other off,
in
didn't
Israel
they, huh?
on the topic of delivering much-needed food and aid to Gaza. President Trump is a humanitarian with a big
Bullshit.
heart.
Lie.
And that's why he sent Special Envoy Witkoff to the region in an effort to save lives and end this crisis.
No, he wants the real estate.
Tomorrow, Special Envoy Witkoff and Ambassador Huckabee will be traveling into Gaza to inspect the current distribution sites and secure a plan to deliver more food and meet with local Gazans to hear firsthand about this dire situation on the ground.
You think the Israelis aren't gonna bomb them? Are you out of your fucking mind? Thank you for the $5.
To approve a final plan for food and aid distribution into the region. And we will provide more details for all of you once that plan is approved and agreed on by the President of the United States. On the trade front, the president secured a historic trade agreement with the European Union that puts America first and fundamentally strengthens the economic
tariff
relationship
plan, bro?
between the
We're all
two
about to go
largest
bankrupt,
economies in the
bitch.
world. This deal delivers on two of President Trump's core promises on trade, supercharging America's manufacturing capacity and opening up foreign market access to American businesses.
The fuck are you
deal
talking about?
guarantees that American businesses will have unprecedented levels of access to the European Union markets to export our American-made goods.
They don't
Also,
want our
as
shit,
part of this
honey!
agreement, the EU will purchase $750 billion in U.S. energy to strengthen our energy dominance, reduce European reliance on adversarial sources, and narrow our trade deficit with the EU. The EU will also make new investments of $60 billion in the United States.
Also to the chat, no, YouTube just changed their policies regarding cursing. They actually are encouraging more F-bombs and cursing. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
By the end of 2028. What we are watching is President Trump rebuilding the greatest economy in the history of the world and simultaneously proving the so-called economic experts wrong at every turn. Media pundits said a trade deal with the EU this monumental and beneficial to America would be impossible, but President Trump made it happen. The so-called economic experts repeatedly said that the American economy would be in a recession this summer. Well, summer is here. It's almost over. And that recession does not exist. Yesterday, in fact, real GDP growth in the second quarter increased at a 3.0% annual rate, significantly above expectations.
Whoa.
President Trump's America First
What's going
policies
on?
are driving economic growth, as he always said they would. And this growth is being driven by the private sector, not the government. Federal government spending fell for a second straight quarter, while real business fixed investment rose by nearly 2%. Following its first quarter surge. President Trump is right-sizing government spending, reversing the damage done by the Biden administration, and allowing the private sector to flourish. The same so-called experts claimed that President Trump's tariffs would spike inflation and hurt American consumers. But consumer spending growth just accelerated and inflation remains right on track. For the past 5 straight months, Core inflation has come in below market expectation and remains in line with the Fed's 2%.
God, I hate her fucking voice so goddamn much, dog. I hate her fucking voice. The only important part is when she starts taking questions. Because then somebody will ask her, hey, what about Epstein?
Further, starting tomorrow, when new reciprocal tariff rates take effect. President Trump is restoring America's economic sovereignty by reducing our reliance on foreign countries, boosting investment in the U.S. to the tune of trillions of dollars, and creating hundreds of thousands of high-paying jobs for the American people.
Yeah.
With America finally put first on trade and the largest middle-class tax cuts in history and other pro-growth provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill beginning to take effect, the American economy will boom like never before over the course of the next 3.5 years, thanks to the president's vision. Finally, as you all know, the president signed an executive order earlier this year to solve the problem of exorbitant pharmaceutical pricing. According to recent data, the prices that Americans have been paying for brand name drugs are more than 3 times the price other similarly developed nations pay. The president is determined to solve this problem and took further action today. He has signed 17 letters to pharmaceutical companies' CEOs, and I would like to read you one of these letters to the CEO of Eli Lilly. All of these letters will be provided to you following this briefing. This is to the CEO of Eli Lilly from the President of the United States. On May 12th, 2025, I signed an executive order delivering most favored nation prescription drug pricing to American patients to stop global freeloading and guarantee that Americans pay the same prices enjoyed by other developed nations. Right now, brand name drugs in the United States are up to 3 times higher on average than anywhere else for the identical medicines. This unacceptable burden on hardworking American families ends with my administration. Most proposals the Trump administration has received to resolve this critical issue promised more of the same, shifting blame and requesting policy changes that would result in billions of dollars in handouts to industry. Moving forward, the only thing I will accept from drug manufacturers is a commitment that provides American families immediate relief from the vastly inflated drug prices and an end to the free ride of American innovation by European and other developed nations.
Low-key based, but
Accordingly,
I don't think he's going to
I'm
get away
calling
with
on
it.
Eli Lilly and Company and
He's not
every
gonna do it.
manufacturer doing business in our great country to take the following actions within the next 60 days. Extend the most favored nation pricing to Medicaid, guarantee most favored nation pricing for newly launched drugs, return increased revenues abroad to American patients and taxpayers, provide for direct purchasing at most favored nation pricing. The President's team, including Secretary Kennedy and Administrator Oz, stand ready to implement these terms. The President expects to further engage with them immediately in good faith to deliver relief for American families. Make no mistake, a collaborative effort towards achieving global pricing parity would be the most effective path for companies, the government, and American patients. But if you refuse to step up, we will deploy every tool in our arsenal to protect American families from continued abusive drug pricing practices. Americans are demanding lower drug prices, and they need them today. Other nations have been freeloading on U.S. innovation for far too long, and it is time they pay their fair share. I look forward to your binding commitments to each of these goals by September 29th, 2025, and my team stands ready to assist with implementation questions. Thank you for your immediate attention to this vital national priority. Signed, President Donald J. Trump. Again, to the CEO of Eli Lilly. This letter, in its form, has been designed for each of the 17 major drug and pharmaceutical companies in the United States, and we're happy to provide you the full list. And I believe you will see all 17 letters popping on Truth Social very shortly, so you can look out for those, and I'm happy to take any further questions. Before we get to questions, I do have one other announcement from the White House and from the President. We are proud to announce that the construction of the new White House ballroom will begin. For 150 years, presidents, administrations, and White House staff have longed for a large event space on the White House complex that can hold substantially more guests than currently allowed.
Fucking kidding
President
me?
Trump has expressed his commitment to solving this problem on behalf of future administrations and the American people. The White House is one of the most beautiful and historic buildings in the world. Yet the White House is currently unable to host major functions honoring world leaders in other countries without having to install a large and unsightly tent approximately 100 yards away from the main building's entrance. The White House State Ballroom will be a much-needed and exquisite addition of approximately 90,000 total square feet of innately designed and carefully crafted space with a seated capacity of 650 people, which is a significant increase from the 200-person seated capacity in the East Room of the White House. In recent weeks, President Trump has held several meetings with members of the White House staff, the National Park Service.
Yeah, fellas, no worries, bro. Fuck Medicaid. We're building a ballroom.
Features and planning. President Trump has chosen McCreary Architects as the lead architect, which is well known for their classical architectural
I'm losing my shit.
And based right here in our nation's capital. The construction team will be headed by Clark Construction, and the engineering team will be led by AECOM. The project will begin in September 2025.
Why are they dabbing on us?
It is expected
They're
to
dabbing on us.
Be completed long
Bro,
before
they're
the end
fucking.
of President Trump's term. President Trump and other donors have generously committed to donating the funds necessary to build
fucking emoting on us. The rich are emoting on us.
Secret Service will provide the necessary security enhancements and modifications. The White House ballroom will be substantially separated from the main building of the White House, but at the same time, its theme and architectural heritage will be almost identical. The site of the new ballroom will be where the small, heavily changed and reconstructed East Wing currently sits. The East Wing was constructed in 1902 and has been renovated and changed many times, with the second story added in 1942.
Yeah.
White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles has provided the following statement. President Trump is a builder at heart and has an extraordinary eye for detail.
He likes
the President
Legos.
and the Trump White House are fully committed to working with the appropriate organizations to preserve the...
Bro, Trump goes, if you're homeless, it's a crime. By the way, I want a ballroom. Yo, do you remember when we watched Trump the other day and they were like, sir, there's some homeless people outside of the White House. And he goes, where are they? Tell me where they are. And then he was taking more questions and he goes, sorry, where are they? Do you guys remember that? This guy fucking hates homeless people.
You will be able to see renderings and visuals of what this ballroom will look like, both the exterior and the interior. I have provided some photos for all of you in the room today.
Oh no,
this is the interior of the ballroom space.
Is it AI generated?
It's quite beautiful.
It's AI generated.
And then this is the exterior of the ballroom space. As you can see, it will come off of the executive mansion as it sits today, and the East Wing will be modernized and renovated.
They're so disconnected.
We're happy to answer any further questions on that. Since you're so eager, I will go to you, but first, as always, I want to start with our new media seat, Ben Weingarten. Why don't you go ahead, Ben?
Thank you. In light of the release, the declassification of the annex to the Durham report today, beyond any potential prosecutions, the outcomes of which will likely be uncertain, what does the president believe justice for Russiagate ought to entail? Might it include restitution for those whose lives were upended as a consequence of Russiagate, and perhaps a major reorganization of the national security apparatus?
Well, I think a major organization of the national security apparatus, at least here at the White House within the National Security Council, has indeed taken place, and the president entrusts his current CIA director, John Ratcliffe, and our ODNI director, Tulsi Gabbard, to make the necessary changes to ensure classified intelligence, especially that could implement or hurt the national security of our country, does not make its way into the hands of irresponsible actors who want to politicize that intelligence for their own end. Since you brought up the declassification report that was put out by Senator Grassley today, I'm glad you brought it up, because this should be a story every outlet in this room should be covering. This is further evidence that Hillary Clinton approved the Russia hoax against President Trump. Her campaign financed it. Again, she approved it. And the FBI and the CIA were both weaponized to, as our director of CIA has said, accelerate this hoax against then candidate and
nobody
former President
gives
Trump.
a shit, dude.
To answer
No
the heart of
one's
your question,
biting.
the president wants to
No
see
one's
justice
biting
served,
this
and
story.
he trusts the
No
Attorney
one
General
gives
and
a
the Department
fuck.
of Justice to implement that justice and hold these people accountable.
One more question, briefly,
Sure.
if I may, on a totally different topic. There's been legislation reintroduced in the House and Senate on designating the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. The Muslim Brotherhood is considered by many to be the fountainhead of Sunni Islamic supremacism, from which Hamas and other groups have spawned, with a nexus to domestic organizations as well. Does the president support designating the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization?
Frankly, I'm not sure because I haven't talked to him, and I would never want to get ahead of the National Security Council on specific designations. It sounds like something this administration would support, but we can get a firm answer for you. How's that?
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Jennifer, go ahead. Eager beaver today.
How much of the East Wing will be torn down? The entire East Wing or just parts of it?
So the East Wing is going to be modernized. The necessary construction will take place. And for those who are housed in the East Wing, including the Office of the First Lady, the White House Military Office, the White House Visitors Offices, those offices will be temporarily relocated while the East Wing is being modernized.
And then on Israel-Gaza, there are some reports that negotiations with Hamas might not be continuing. Did you get any updates from Steve Witkoff on that?
I did. Special Envoy Witkoff is actively talking with our counterparts in Israel about that, and he wants to give some grace to the president so he can fully brief the president on what he's learning on the ground in both Israel and Gaza. But the president put out a very strong statement on Truth Social this morning, which I'm sure you saw, and he said the quickest way to end this entire conflict, the humanitarian crisis that we've seen, and the crisis in Israel that of course started on October 7th when Hamas brutally kidnapped and raped innocent Israelis, that terrible terrorist attack, is for Hamas to surrender, to release all of the hostages, and to end this conflict. And that's what the president wants to see. He's made that very clear. But the special envoy will be in Gaza tomorrow, as I shared with you previously. Josh.
Can you give us a little more clarity on the tariff timing? You said that the reciprocals will take effect tomorrow.
Yes.
Does that include the new auto rates, for instance, on Japan, Korea, the EU? Is this all coming effective tomorrow?
So some of the countries you just mentioned, Japan, South Korea, they have bespoke trade deals that the president cut, which, just to backtrack for a second, Josh, we promised that the president would negotiate with countries all around the world to cut tailor-made trade deals depending on those countries' challenges, how badly they've ripped off the United States of America and our manufacturing industry and our workforce.
Softball questions. Well, dude, they've banned so many fucking people from this room. Like, what is it? The Associated Press isn't allowed in there. I don't think Reuters is allowed in there. I don't even think CNN is allowed in there anymore. Like, they don't let anybody in. Meanwhile, they let in fucking Tim Pool and his beanie.
Or have a letter. They will be hearing from this administration by the midnight deadline tonight. So yes, tomorrow, August 1st, the reciprocal rates will be going into effect. If more deals are cut between now and midnight, I will never count out the president. You've seen him do it before. He cut 3 deals in one day very recently. So we'll see what happens. I do know foreign leaders are ringing his phone, realizing this deadline is a real thing for them tomorrow, and they're bringing offers to the table.
We're reporting that the president wants to meet David Solomon of Goldman Sachs today. Can you say what they'll discuss, if anything, in that meeting?
I won't discuss the president's private meetings from this podium, and it hasn't taken place yet unless he gives me liberty to do so.
And finally, have you talked with the president about his position on the stock trading ban bill before Congress? He obviously had pretty loaded comments about Senator Hawley. There's some reporting that they've since spoken. What is his position on the current status of that bill?
The president has spoken to Senator Hawley, who called him, and the president took that call. As the president said in the Roosevelt Room yesterday, conceptually, he of course supports the idea of ensuring that members of Congress and United States senators who are here for public service cannot enrich themselves. And the reason that this idea to put a ban on stock trading for members of Congress is even a thing is because of Nancy Pelosi. I mean, she is rightfully criticized because she makes, I think, $174,000 a year, yet she has a net worth of approximately $413 million. In 2024, Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio, this was a fascinating statistic to me, grew 70% in 1 year in 2024.
Yeah,
and her
Nancy
portfolio
Pelosi's a corrupt piece of shit.
outperformed every single large hedge fund in that same year, and even more than doubled the returns
and Trump
of
made
Warren
fucking
Buffett's
billions
Berkshire
already,
Hathaway.
dog.
So I think the president stands with the American people on this. He doesn't want to see people like Nancy Pelosi enriching themselves off of public service and ripping off their constituents in the process. As for the mechanics of the legislation and how it will move forward, the White House continues to be in discussions with our friends on Capitol Hill. Emily, in a new seat today.
Thanks, Caroline. I wanted to ask about this report that the president wants to host a G20 meeting at Trump Durrell. How is he going to do that, considering all the preparations that have been going on in South Africa? And also, would that be seen as his businesses possibly profiting from hosting this kind of meeting?
I would reject that premise entirely. We have announcements and details forthcoming on the G20, but my understanding is no firm announcement
all right,
is ready
enough
to be
of this
made.
fucking slut. I want to make a video about Trump making being homeless fucking illegal. Let's do it. Let's talk about it. All right, I'm going to make a video real quick. You guys ready? Lock in. So Trump signed an executive order that just makes being homeless or mentally ill illegal. Involuntary commitment straight to the fucking asylum. Probably thrown into prison so they could use you as slave labor. Huh. I'm going to have to refilm that so that I don't curse in the first 60. Son of a bitch. Donald Trump signed an executive order that makes being homeless or mentally ill illegal. And they want to involuntarily commit you into an insane asylum or a prison where they could use you as slave labor via the 13th Amendment. Huh. Well, ain't that something? And you don't need to take my opinion for it. We're going to take it from the horse's mouth. This is whitehouse.gov. This is the actual executive order, ending crime and disorder on America's streets. Now, of course, it's an executive order, so it's full of fluff meant to distract you so that the average American doesn't consume what the overall point of this is. But if you know anything about history, this is very reminiscent of the Action T4 program in Germany. The involuntary euthanasia program before the Holocaust in Germany. Some even argue it's the first stage of the Holocaust, where it was totally legal. This is my point, in that in Germany it was totally legal to round up the disabled and the mentally ill and kill them. So it's a weird, listen, as somebody who studies history, this is not the type of shit that I fuck with, man. This is like dangerous games, dangerous prizes. But first things first, let's just go over the wiki of the Action T4 program. This is back in Nazi Germany. It was a campaign of mass murder by involuntary euthanasia, which targeted people with disabilities and the mentally ill in Nazi Germany. The term was first used in post-war trials against doctors who had been involved in the killings. The name T4 is an abbreviation for Tiergartenstrasse 4, a street address for the Chancellery Department set up in the early 1940, which recruited and paid personnel associated with Action T4. Certain German physicians were authorized to select patients, quote, deemed incurably sick after most critical medical examination, and then administer to them a mercy death. Adolf Hitler signed a euthanasia note backdated to September 1st, 1939, which authorized his physician Karl Brandt and Reichsleiter Philipp Böhler to begin the killing. Between 275,000 and 300,000 people were killed in psychiatric hospitals in Germany and Austria. Many of them were children, by the way. So now you have some back news on like how dangerous it is to start classifying mentally ill and homeless people as dangers to society and rounding them up. Now let's go over the actual executive order itself. So there is a lot here. I've already read through this, and we're going to try to piece through it to show you the meat and potatoes. That's what I like to call it. If you're new here, there's a lot of bread in here. We don't want the bread. We want the meat and potatoes, okay? But this is some fucked up shit. So I want you to prepare yourself. Endemic vagrancy, disorderly behavior, sudden confrontations, and violent attacks have made our cities unsafe. The number of individuals living on the streets in the United States on a single night during the last year of the previous administration, 274,224, was the highest ever recorded. The overwhelming majority of these individuals are addicted to drugs, incorrect, have a mental health condition, or both. Nearly 2/3 of homeless individuals report having regularly used hard drugs like methamphetamines, cocaine, or opioids in their lifetimes. An equally large share of homeless individuals reported suffering from mental health conditions. The federal government and the states have spent tens of billions of dollars on failed programs that address homelessness, but not its root causes, leaving other citizens vulnerable to public safety threats. So the funny part about this line here, but not its root causes, is that nowhere in this executive order will they be addressing the root causes of homelessness, which are mental health crises and the affordability crisis. People often look at a homeless person and think they're like so vastly different from them. They're not. The majority of people who are homeless because they can't afford rent. They're not homeless because they're addicted to drugs. That's not why they're fucking homeless. They're homeless because the United States has an inherently impossible economic structure. But nobody can afford to fucking buy a house anymore. And you miss one goddamn month of rent. Next thing you know, you're fucking homeless. Okay, here we go. This is where we get some meat. Shifting homeless individuals into long-term institutional settings for, quote, humane treatment through the appropriate use of civil commitment. Now, if you don't know what this is, civil commitment is involuntary institutionalization, right? It's like when people are a genuine, like, it's used a lot for like paranoid schizophrenics who are going through a manic episode, right? Because they're sometimes can be genuinely a danger to themselves or others. Then they will, you know, involuntarily throw you into a center until you're stabilized again, and then you can, you know, reason with reality. But they are trying to use that same civil commitment on people who are simply homeless. It has nothing to do with mental illness. It has everything to do with just being homeless. Surrendering our cities and citizens to disorder and fear is neither compassionate to the homeless nor other citizens. My administration will take a new approach on protecting public safety. So there's the meat, and now let's try and pick up some of the potatoes here. So this one is a little alarming. Seek, in appropriate cases, the reversal of federal or state judicial precedents and the termination of consent decrees that impede on the United States' policy of encouraging civil commitment. So what does this mean? This means that they're going to try and reverse or destroy any sort of judicial law that prevents the federal government from involuntarily committing you into an institution. They're trying to make it way easier to just snag you up. But look at this. This is where it gets fucked. Involuntary commitment of individuals with mental illness who pose risks to themselves or the public. Now, mind you, this is what the Trump regime says. You have a mental illness and you pose risks to yourself. It's not up to you or your doctor. It's up to the Trump regime. But watch this. Individuals with mental illness who pose a risk to themselves or the public, or are living on the streets and cannot care for themselves. Or is really important. Or means this isn't about homeless people who are mentally ill and pose a risk to themselves or the public. No, that would be and. This is or. This is the Trump regime subtly, quietly saying that they want to start locking up people with mental illnesses who pose a risk to themselves or the public. Or homeless people. They want both. That's why I brought up the Action T4 program. This isn't about like, oh, he's mentally ill and homeless and he's a danger to the public. No, it's about these people are mentally ill and these people are homeless. Round them all up. That's what this is. And anybody who's going to say to me in the comments like, wow, Chris, you're really jumping to conclusions here. Do you not think that people were screaming their fucking head off when they started rounding up disabled children in Nazi Germany? I hope to God I'm wrong. But if I'm not, I ain't taking the risk of keeping my fucking mouth shut. Oh, and not to mention that the people who have a higher chance of becoming homeless are people who are like low income, LGBTQ, black, minorities. Like, this isn't about the white people. Okay. Provide assistance through technological grants or legal available for the identification, adoption, implementation of maximally flexible civil commitment. Okay, so look at this. Where is it? The step-down treatments, mental illness, supposed dangers, living in the streets, cannot care. That's not the juicy part. The juicy part is this. Okay, look at this. So now the Trump regime is saying, if you do not follow our orders, you will no longer receive federal funding. Not even kidding. Look. The Attorney General, the Secretary of Human Services, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and the Secretary of Transportation shall take immediate steps to assess their discretionary grant programs and determine whether priority for those grants may be given to grantees in states and municipalities that actively meet the below criteria. So what does this mean? This means they are going to give priority to states that follow this list of demands, which in other words means they're not going to give federal funding, or they're going to withhold it as long as possible to states that don't follow this list and just sow chaos, right? And the rules are this. Enforce prohibitions on open illicit drug use. So you know that joint you like to smoke in Central Park? Nope. Get rid of it. Enforce prohibitions on urban camping and loitering. You know what that means? Being homeless. Illegal. Enforce prohibitions on urban squatting. Say goodbye to squatters' rights. This is all for the landlords. Enforce, where necessary, adopt standards that address individuals who are a danger to themselves or others, or suffer from mental illness or substance abuse disorder, who are living in the streets and cannot care for themselves, through assisted outpatient treatment or by moving them into treatment centers of other appropriate facilities via civil commitment or other available means to the maximum extent permitted by the law. So just involuntarily throwing people into fucking mental institutions. Now, here's another piece of the juice here. The registration notification out for sex offender registry, particularly in the case of registered sex offenders with no fixed addresses, included by adequately mapping and checking the location of homeless sex offenders. Now, here's the thing. You read this and you go, oh, yeah, dude, I fucking hate sex offenders. Of course, everybody fucking hates sex offenders. And tracking homeless sex offenders sounds like a good thing, right? Yeah. However, that's not what their plan is here. What their plan is right underneath it. The Attorney General shall ensure that homeless individuals arrested for federal crimes are evaluated to determine whether they are sexually dangerous persons and certified accordingly for civil commitment. So this means that a homeless person who is arrested for a federal crime, now primarily a lot of these homeless people are minorities, a lot of them are LGBTQ, they're gay, they're trans, right? So they are going to classify any homosexual person, which was registered as a mental illness until like 1990, or any transgender person who was homeless, as a sexually dangerous person because they are publicly gay, publicly trans, and homeless, surrounded by the public. That is the plan here. Unfucking believable shit. Encampment removal efforts for areas where public safety is at risk. Oh, look at this. All right, so they... Yeah. Okay, so detainees with serious mental illness are not going to be released into the public because of a lack of bed capacity at the jails. So even if there's not enough beds, they're just going to cram all of these people in there. I mean, what do you expect? We got that going on at Donald's Dachau in the Florida Everglades. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, now get this. I don't know if you guys know too much about like the, heavy drug areas where people are, really fucking using hard drugs. But one of the things that can save people's lives is something called Narcan. When people are overdosing on like heroin or fentanyl, the ambulance can pull up with a thing called Narcan. Even the cops have it on them sometimes. You hold it up to their nose, they breathe it in, and it can save your life when you're overdosing. Now, Narcan is considered a harm reduction chemical, right? Or there's also like, there's places where people use heroin so much that there are places to go get safe needles, right? Clean needles, because these people are using dirty needles and giving themselves fucking AIDS, right? So this says, ensure discretionary grants used by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services for Substance Abuse Disorder Prevention, Treatment, and Recovery fund evidence programs, and do not fund programs that fail to achieve adequate outcomes, including harm reduction or safe consumption efforts that only facilitate illegal. So they want more people to die. That is their plan here. They want more people to overdose or get some sort of fucked up needle in them. That is part of their plan. How do we get rid of the homeless people? Well, how do we get rid of the drug addicts? Well, just let them fucking die. Just let them fucking die. Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. Provide technical assistance to assisted outpatient treatment programs for individuals with serious mental illness or addiction during and after the civil commitment process, focused on shifting such individuals off of the streets and into public programs and into private housing and support networks. I have no problem with that. These people need housing, but they're never going to follow through with that one. Okay. What else do we got here? Oh, yeah, look at this. These actions shall include, to the extent permitted by the law, ending support for, quote, housing first policies. So you want to criminalize homelessness, and at the same time, you want to end funding for housing first policies that would give these people places to live? That deprioritize accountability and self-sufficiency. This is the very definition of the pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. They're literally saying, pull yourselves up by your bootstraps, and if you don't, go to fucking prison. What the fuck are we talking about? And don't forget about the 13th Amendment, where you can literally use people in prison as slave labor. Oh, Lord. Look at this. With respect to the federal housing and homelessness assistance that operate drug injection sites or safe consumption sites, knowingly distribute drug paraphernalia, that's the clean needles we were just talking about, or permit the use or distribution of illicit drugs on property under their control. So they're going to get rid of the funding for all the safe needle sites. More people are going to overdose and die. That's literally their fucking plan. That is unironically their fucking plan. They're going to freeze the federal funding for housing initiatives. They're going to freeze the fucking funding for housing initiatives. Oh, dear God, bro. Oh, and this is the last part here. It's fucked. So get this. Require the recipients of federal funding for homelessness assistance to collect their health-related information. That's your private health records. And then the next part says, they will share such data with law enforcement authorities. Remember when I said that they were going to build concentration camps and round up all you autistic fucks? I'm just kidding. I'm equally as autistic. I think that's the plan. They're trying to make it so that if you're homeless, if you're mentally ill, and you have private health records, all of those health records, which are going to be downloaded by the fucking Palantir supercomputer, Mecha Hitler, they're going to be sent to the local law enforcement, who is actually going to be the volunteer Proud Boy white supremacists in ICE, and then they're going to come snatch you off the street and say, give me your passport, burn it, and then fucking send you to Donald's Dachau in the Florida Everglades. Huh? Meanwhile, there was another executive order. We're not going to cover it, but it was just like anti-woke AI. It was like, yeah, we're going to get rid of woke AI. It was essentially just saying, like, no robot is allowed to be woke. We're making super mecha Hitler. What? Anyway, if you're live, you can stay. If you're watching this pre-recorded, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It costs you nothing, and it helps me immensely. A huge shout out to all of my patrons, for people giving $2, $5, $8 a month. You guys are huge. There's 36 of you. I love you all. Big shout out to all of the members giving $5 a month. If you want to buy some merch, we have a great new merch drop coming. A lot of the merch is disappearing. All right, you have like a week. So if you want that merch, get it now. We have great new merch coming, and you're going to fucking love it. And you can just donate to the channel, hitting the thanks button. Thank you very much. Hit that fucking video right over there. It's a banger, and I know bangers. All right, nice. All right. If you ever think the government wouldn't do that, oh, yes, they would. Yes, they would. You can't just say Samson option. You can't just say Samson option for no reason. You can't just say it. Like you're summoning a fucking ancient deity. Excuse me. I still love this fucking thumbnail we made. This one's so funny. What a fucking screenshot. I didn't even edit that photo. I didn't even touch that photo, dog. I didn't even touch it. Why does she look like that? Because they asked her a question about all the money she receives from Israel. Or no, they asked her if AIPAC should have to register as a foreign lobby. I should have a good angry Trump here. Yeah, there we go. Hey, come on. Can I edit the fucking photo? For fuck's sake, I clicked the fucking edit button. Let me edit the fucking... Thank you. Fuck you. Never fucking do that shit to me again. I'll beat the fuck out of you, dog. It's crazy how I look like two different people. I can't believe how I'm both of these people. That's like kind of remarkable. All right. Let's see. Arresting the homeless. Now that's a thumbnail. You're like A7X. I don't know what that is. I think it's a banger. I think it's a banger. I think it's a banger. The unemployment rate doesn't include people who've been unemployed for more than 2 weeks, for more than 4 weeks. That's fucking stupid. Avenged Sevenfold. Oh, I've heard of them. All right, we need a title for this video. Which is Trump Executive Order criminalizes... All right, hold on. Trump Executive Order criminalizes... All right, hold on. Trump new executive order criminalizes mental illness and homelessness. Action T4 2025 episode 193. The Volentivod. Not made for kids. No AI generated content. Yes, I want it monetized. Yes, I want ads. Sensitive events. No issues found. Let's see if it starts properly. Trump signed an executive order that makes being home. All right. Publish. There we go. Video's up. Are we allowed to watch the Battlefield 6 multiplayer gameplay reveal together, or will I get copyrighted for that? Probably get copyrighted, right? Definitely, right? 15 minutes? 15 minutes? Are you out of your fucking mind? 15 minutes? All right. You missed everything. I'm going to end the stream, guys. Short stream today. Fuck it, I'm not waiting. Oh, I'm not waiting 15 minutes. I gotta go get lunch before it starts pouring. Fuck all of you. I'm just kidding. I love you all. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Short, just like you. I've been live for 2 hours, and also you're 45. I don't want to hear from you. You're a 45-year-old man. Alright, fuck all of you. I'm out of here. Fuck all of you. Later.